Okay, so I have a bit of a dilemma. The stone cutter I've been using for the last 5 or 6 years sent me a note the other day saying, "Dear Austin, I am retiring in about 1 year. Thank you for your time and your service, etc., etc., etc." So I have about a year to find a new gemstone cutter. The previous cutter I used for cutting all my special faceted stones and designs. He did a fantastic job. I'm very thankful for his time and effort over the years. But now I need to find somebody new. So I've already been contacting all sorts of gem cutters via Instagram and their websites and whatnot. And they're all very talented, but I've been running into problems. Either they're too expensive, they're too far out for their timeline. I can't wait 3 or 4 months for a stone to be cut, or they're just not interested or aren't able to cut the designs I need. So I thought, hey, maybe I could learn to cut my own stones. How hard can it be?
To get started on this, I did what most people in my position would do. Went to my computer, pulled up an internet browser, and asked Google. Naturally, there were thousands of results. After scrolling for a bit, I picked a video at random and settled down to watch.
You might be asking me or yourself, what are these charts that I printed off? Well, in order to explain what this is and why I went to the trouble of drawing this out, first I need to get this pulled out and set up. Okay, this was my grandpa's faceting machine, or desk, both, really. Back in the day, faceting machines were just starting to come out. In fact, they weren't really being industrially made or professionally made until around the 1940s and 50s, when machinists who also faceted it as a hobby first started putting their machinist skills to use to make faceting benches and tables. Before that, people would oftentimes facet freehand, where they would use these wooden blocks that had holes drilled in them to place the dop sticks. Now, this runs off of an old belt system. You can see underneath here we have a motor and then pulley and a light switch. So in theory, if I plug this in here, let's see what happens. Everything looks like it's running pretty smooth. That's how they built stuff back in the day. This thing hasn't been used probably in maybe 30 years, and it still works just fine. So turn that off. And now it's time to go ahead and assemble all these parts here. Okay, so back to these charts and why they're important. So one of the first stones I'll probably try to cut is a standard round brilliant. It's the most common cut seen in gemstones, and it's easy to find charts about how to cut them. One problem is that these charts, and most of the charts you're going to find online, are based off of an index gear with 96 teeth. Now, this is the index gear right here. You can see that this gear here has the numbers marked on it. This is not the number of degrees. This is just the setting here. So this one has 64, and then you can see it starts over. It goes 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. And that right there is what controls this end right here. This thing spins around. But when you're going around the stone and you're cutting each of these facets here, these all correspond. So the first one is 96, and you've got this main here. However, I don't have a 96 tooth index. I have a 64 tooth index. So that's what this is for. So you can see here. Let's see. Nope, that's the opposite side. Here is the 96 tooth index ring. Here's a 64 index ring. So if it tells me to cut a 96, I cut at 64. If it tells me to cut at 88, I cut at 56, 58. No, 56, 57, 58, 59. But that's what these are important for. Obviously, a 96 tooth gives you a lot more finer adjustments versus a 64 tooth, but I'm going to work with what I've got here, and then later if I decide this is worthwhile, I'll upgrade to a different tooth gear. Okay, so I got the machine all set up. I got the desk sanded off, I got all the moving parts oiled. So now when I go to loosen the bolts here, I can get this to slide around much easier. This goes up and down, and this goes up and down. So to get started, this is a dop. This is what attaches to the gemstone and will actually make contact with the lap. This is the master lap. This needs to stay absolutely flat because all other laps sit on top of this. This is referred to as a spindle. This here is a protractor, essentially, and it gives you your elevation angle. I need to clean this up a little bit and perhaps put some paint on these numbers so I can read them better. But these numbers correspond to the elevation angle of the gemstone, which you'll see on a gem cutting diagram. This is called the trigger, and as you can see, the spring is a little bit old, but this trigger releases the index gear. This is your index gear here. I release the trigger. I can then make a selection on the index gear, which rotates around the dop here. Up here, I have the trunnion, which attaches to the mast. The mast has an elevation guide here. Some faceting machines will have a cheater gauge, which allows very fine adjustments of the mast. A lot of index gears will also have a cheater gear, which allow finer selection. What I have here is this cheater gauge here. I can loosen this screw here and tighten this one, and you'll see the arrow move slightly to the right. By pushing this side down, this side will go up as it pivots around this bolt here. But for now, I want to set this to absolute 0. So I'm going to push this side down until I'm at 0. And then lock that side down as well. So what this is a really old machine. This is a master faceting machine, also known as an MDR faceting machine. These are pretty old. This would be considered a vintage piece of equipment. So I'm going to learn on this and then maybe later upgrade to a different machine. But this machine has a little bit of nostalgic value to me because this was the machine that my grandpa used. And so I think I have a little bit of his rockhound and jewelry interests rubbed off on me. All right, to start out with, you need a piece of rough, obviously. I suggest picking quartz as it's inexpensive, and generally you can find a good piece of rough that has got very little inclusions in it. From the rough, you're going to dop it or freehand it, if it's large enough, into a preform. Preform is the technical term for a stone which has been roughed out to the approximate shape and size that you want. You want to try to get this as close as possible. if you're doing a rectangular like this one, keep in mind that it's only going to get a few tenths of a millimeter smaller as you grind in the facets. The girdle needs to be about 1/3 from the top, so this stone is going to be a little bit on the deep side when finished. Here is another preform that has been done. It's been preformed into a cylinder, and then you can see the crown facets have been cut in, but they haven't been polished yet. After that has been polished, then the stone will need to be preformed at the bottom to cut the pavilion. And then once you're all done, you'll end up with a finished gemstone. So for me, that means I need to do a couple of things. I need to pick out a piece of rough, and I need to get one other supply, and that's some dopping wax. So I'm going to end this video here, and I'll be starting another video, part 2, where I'll be dopping the stone and roughing it out on the genie, which is what I use for cabs. Because of the more aggressive grinding wheels, I'll be able to get a preform quicker, and then I'll be able to move to faceting it. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.